Okay.
Something else. Okay, back to what we were doing. So now the real starting. This is Canvas best practices on module requirements. I'm Julie now. I'm the OIDC at Red Mountain High School, and I oversee the Red Mountain region. We have OIDCs in here from all different regions in Mesa. So if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat or seek out any of them after this if you need any additional help. It's what we're here for. We like your questions. So module requirements, they are like my favorite thing about Canvas. And I think they're the best and part of what distinguishes Canvas from other LMSs. It really helps students as they're working through a course. And if you ever take a professional development class through Canvas, you may have noticed this as well. So we're going to look at setting these things up and what it looks like. So first, I'm in Canvas. I'm going to go to my demo course I use for all these, and I have my modules that I had set up last week for when we went over organizing modules. So first thing, what are module requirements and why do we want to use them? So if you have modules, and I hope you do, because they make life for you and your students a lot easier to organize all of the information in Canvas, give it a sequential order, know what belongs with what, and the order in which they should be going through. So if you're using modules in the student view, I'm going to go to this. Okay, so here's what it looks like student view. And when I click on this, I go into here, hopefully, nothing there because it was just a blank page. And then I come back. And then a week and a half later, when I feel like doing my work again, I come back and I don't remember where it is that I've been. So I've already looked at this, but there's no indication of that that I have done that. So what module requirements will do is over here on the right-hand side, they will get little to-do checklists. There will be either a blank circle indicating they haven't done it yet or a green check mark. And another thing that happens is underneath each element that you have assigned a requirement to, it will tell them what they need to do in order to fulfill that requirement. I'm going to leave student view. And we'll look at this again after we've set up requirements. So first thing, anytime you're interacting with a module and you want to change something about it, we have our flyout menus. So remember the three dots, anytime you see them, like here's three dots here, 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 it's going to give you additional options for whatever that item is. So this is for the modules page, this is for the actual module, and these are for each of the elements within the module. So I'm going to click on the modules flyout menu. So those three dots there, and I have an edit option, move contents, move module, delete, duplicate, share, blah, blah. I want to go into edit. Back out again. Here, I can change the name of the module. I can lock it until a certain date and time. This is how I publish my modules. So I set mine to this morning, and they open at 8 o'clock, and I say done. So it's going to open Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Then I add in my requirements. And you have some options. So I selected that. You can either say that students must complete all of these requirements, or students must complete one of these requirements. You can require them to do everything they put in there, or if you're providing student voice and choice in your module. So let's say you have science experiments available, and depending on what materials they have, maybe they'll choose between multiple different experiments. So maybe you have 3 in there. So you would put those 3 options in the module, and you would say they have to do one of these things, and you would list all 3 of those options there, and then they would complete the module by completing one of those requirements. Let's look at students must complete all of the requirements first. Underneath that, it says students must move through requirements in sequential order. So according to the order that they are in the module, not on this list, but in the module, they have to do the first thing before they can access the second thing. Now, normally, during the normal course of the year, where you're actually seeing your students, I would not recommend doing this. Because what happens is students will be absent for a day or two, they'll miss the material, they won't have done something, and then when they come into class, they can't access that day's class work because they hadn't done the previous day's classwork yet. So if it was a normal course of events, I would not be checking this. However, in the situation that we're in right now, it might be a good idea to require students to do things first this, then this, then this. So turning this on will require them to do whatever is first in the module first, and so on. So underneath that, you can see I clicked on add requirements a couple of times. I can take them off again. But you have some options. So first, for a page, the first thing in this module right here was module directions 2. And it's listed under pages. And I can require students to view the item. I can require them to mark it as done, or I can require them to contribute to the page. You can set Canvas pages to be editable by students. Probably not a good idea unless you significantly trained them. I have in some of my classes at the end of the year, the kids would work in groups to create content pages as a review of what they had learned that year. But that was significant training and trust, and I was there all the time. So maybe don't turn that on. Usually for pages, I say view the item, unless they are watching a video or something, then they could check mark as done. I'm going to check mark as done just because I want to show you what that looks like when we look at student view again. So I want that to be there. Then let's say I want to put a discussion in there. So I'm requiring them to do something with the discussion. You can tell them they have to view the item or contribute to the page because I don't have anything on there. Usually it would be like submit the assignment. And then down here, probably same thing's going to happen with the assignment because I didn't actually set it up. Oh, there we go. View the item, mark as done, submit the assignment, or score at least. So score at least works really well with quizzes that are auto-graded. So if you, and I'll show you, I think I have a quiz in the next module. You can say they have to score at least 10 out of 15 in order to move on to the next thing, or whatever it is you want it to be. So this assignment was set to be worth 5 points. So I can require them to have scored at least 3 points or 4 points or all of the points before they can move on. If it's a quiz that's auto-graded, that works great. If it's an assignment that they have to score a certain points in order to be able to progress in the module, it is going to be dependent on you grading it. So the student will have to wait until you've graded the assignment before they are allowed to proceed in the module. So keep that in mind when you're putting stuff in here, like a discussion or an assignment. If you're going to put score at least, you're going to have to be monitoring your grading so you can keep up on it. Otherwise, the students will get stuck. Okay, for this, I'm just going to turn these off for this particular module, and I'll show you why later. I'm going to update it, and I can, oops, I probably should have shown you that, but I'll show it to you again on the next one. So in this module, let's look at what happens. Up in the top right-hand corner, it says complete all items. Underneath, remember I only had one requirement left, and it was to mark completed this content page. And I took the requirements off of these, just to be less annoying for me later. I'm going to show you things. Okay, now let's look at this next module. I'm going to go into edit. And I can rename things, I can lock them, but here I have another option that I didn't have in this first option for this first module. I can add a prerequisite. Now I can require that students have finished this first module before they can access the next module. This is super helpful for kids that just like to skip ahead and pick out the assignments that they want to do. And then they miss assignments. Or you'll find that students like to work off of their to-do list on their dashboard, only look at the things that are actually assigned to them, and then they miss everything else in the module because they were only doing the actual assignments. So requiring them to have completed a previous module, requiring them to have viewed pages or to mark things as completed will make it so that they have to actually go and look at the content. Okay, so I set this up as a prerequisite that they complete another module, this one right here. And then I can go in and I can add my requirements for this module. I can make them move through sequentially. I can have them view the module directions. You can put it in multiple times if you have it in there multiple times. Here we go. This discussion is actually set up. So I can require them to submit the assignment or to score a certain score. I can go in and put, here's a quiz. Same thing as with the assignment. You can tell that, say they just have to submit it, view it, or they have to score a certain score before they can move on. And then I'm going to say update module. So like the first one, I kind of clicked out of it quick. It's telling you that you've changed your requirements. So you've changed the progression requirements for an active course. It's a sandbox, but Canvas doesn't know that. And there might have been students who have already done work in this module. Always set up your requirements before you make the assignments available to students, before you publish it, before you publish the module, because if a student goes through and is doing work, all of a sudden they're going to be locked out if they didn't do something. And that will be confusing, and then you'll get a bunch of emails. So if you are going to set up requirements, I would make sure to set them up before you make it available to students, before they've started doing work in there, just so it'll be less confusing there. You can let students continue in the course, or do you want to relock them until the new requirements are completed? So let's say you have students that have already started. You can just let them continue in with where they're at, or you can lock it and make sure they go back and complete everything that they've missed. Okay. So I've set up some module requirements in here. So let's look at what that looks like. So first thing, in the top right-hand corner, it has it marked that I have a prerequisite in order to access this module. And I'm requiring them to complete all of the items in here. If it was just that they chose one, it would indicate that up there. Then over here, you can see underneath each of these items that I put as a requirement, it tells them what they have to do. So this one says you have to view this page. This says they have to submit the discussion. This doesn't have any requirements on it. And then this one says they have to score at least 1 out of 1 points. So let's look at what that looks like under student view. Okay, so first thing, this says we cannot access this until we do this. So let's look at what mark completed says. I'm going to do module directions 2. Now your students up in the top right-hand corner will get this button there that they have to click saying that they've done it. There is no guarantee that they have actually done it, but it is a step that they can take and you can require them to take to acknowledge that, yep, I did this, or they can be liars and no, they didn't. Then down here, I can now access module directions, and all I'm doing to that is viewing it. I'm going to go back to my modules and we'll show you. Notice over here, when I finished this first one, I clicked mark as done. I got a green check mark. Down here, right here, this is telling me, this red circle with the line in it is telling me I'm not done with this module yet. I have not completed all the items. It would be a green check mark if I did. Here, I have finished this requirement. And if I scroll down, here's that quiz that requires them to get 1. It is incomplete. It has that circle there. It's not finished yet. There we go. I must not have published those discussions either. That was a mistake. Let's go back and see if that's what I did. So students aren't viewing things. Usually it's not. Okay, I don't know why those aren't showing up. This is probably an example of not being able to see things, which is annoying. Or I didn't do something else. Let's go and look. So sample discussion. Oh, I know. Like we can troubleshoot together. I clicked on this, I promise. And I threatened my kid that he better not be on Zoom until I'm done with this. We'll see. Okay, if we scroll down, oh, you can see it's not assigned to me. So that is why it's not showing up in there. So let's assign it to everybody. Go back to modules and see if it shows up in view. There we go. There's the discussion. It is incomplete. I haven't finished that yet. This one's not done, but this is the next thing I'm supposed to do. Okay, so that is module requirements. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you, And I wish I could show you in a live course because it's way more interesting, but I don't want to reveal student data. You should see now that I have, if you're super noticing type of a person, I have all these module requirements set up in prereqs. This button appeared in the top right-hand corner by plus module. I can click on view progress and see how there's no students are found and this is big blank thing. If we had actual students in here, I would have a list of all my students over here. I'd have a list of all the modules in here, and it would be telling me what those students have not done for each of the modules, or if the module is completed. So it would have the module listed and be like, check, it's done. Or it would have an incomplete module with a list of the things that they haven't done yet is in there. So that is super useful if you want to check on the progress of your students through a module. You can see what they have or have not done based on the requirements that you set. So there isn't a lot of data analytics in Canvas that's super useful. There's some, but not a lot of interesting things. This is something that is very useful if you want to see if a student has accessed any specific content. You can get to it there. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys today. Do we have any questions about any of that? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask whatever you got. Oh, and Freeman, do you want to share the form real quick?
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I don't know why I remembered. I answered all your questions. Yay. I'm glad you're in here. I hope you guys find this useful. I love module requirements. It tells you so much about what students are doing. Okay, the form is in the chat box to fill out. I believe we're still listed. We're still Canvas Basics. There's an option on that form, unless somebody else has added. I'm not sure. Okay, well, if we don't have any questions, feel free to chat any of us. If you just didn't want to ask your questions later. Conferences and scheduling, sign up appointments, office hours. You're talking about WebEx. So WebEx, over on the left-hand side, you're welcome, Mary, is in your course navigation. And Linda, I can send you some tutorials as well with pictures.
What the problem is I'm able to find out how to set up in the calendar. I can set up a group for a what is it saying? I can set up an assignment, and then I can also set up, where is it? Under calendar. Go back to that screen. Sorry, I'm not able to get that very well. So if I'm on my calendar and I go to create an event, it gives me an option for event, assignment, and I can do an appointment group. So on my appointment group, I can, because I want to be able to talk with each of my students and give them an assigned time for them to sign up. So I'm not sure which way I need to go about doing it, but I try this way where it's at an event, I go in and I create the event, and it allows me to put in the date, the time, and how many minutes in each time slot. So I've done all that. I can choose how many students can sign up at once, and so on and so forth. Then when I go in student view, and with that same class, I look at my calendar, there's nothing that I can see from a student's view that they can sign up times. Do you know how?
So student view is kind of tricky. It's great for seeing previews of how things work, but for some elements of Canvas, you have to have an actual student account in order for it to function. I haven't played too much with scheduling. I did use it a couple of times for students to sign up when they were doing their presentations. But I'm pretty sure that that's one of those things you have to be like a real student and not a pretend student, like the pretend student we use for student view. That's, unless one of the other IDCs have something that I'm not thinking of?
Are you able to quickly go over then what you did with your PowerPoint presentation setups? You don't have to show me how to do the groups, that's fine, but like, is it pretty quick? Can you kind of just show me what steps you did? I think there's different ways I've kind of fallen into routines, and I'm not sure which one's the best.
To add a PowerPoint?
No, not to add a PowerPoint, but when you had your students sign up for PowerPoint presentations, can you show me?
For the presentations, yeah. Okay, it's been a while. Let's see if I can remember. So you're cutting out a little bit, so I was getting like every third word.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Okay, let me remember. How did I do that? You know what? How about,
Or even if you know how to set up office hours, I don't even know how to do that, because when I go to set up office hours, I'm not able to see for sure what the students are seeing. We want to start there maybe.
okay. So office hours in Cisco WebEx.
Okay.
You have to have this active in your course navigation. So that's where you go to settings, navigation, and make sure that Cisco WebEx does not have that I crossed out next to it, because otherwise the students won't be able to access it. Now in there, the first thing you have to do is your setup. And you want to turn on, I turn on virtual meetings and office hours, and then set apply. You sync your time zone. You need to authorize LMS, just agree to everything. And I turned on Reminder Bot, but I don't know what it does yet. We'll learn. And then at the top, after you've applied, choosing your features, you should be able to select office hours and then pick out when you want to be available to students. So I just did all of these are my work hours. So I'm available during all these times, military time.
Okay, did you have to click on each one individually then?
I did, yeah. So I clicked on each one.
Okay, so the clicks, and then what is that? Does that allow students to do?
They can schedule an appointment with you, and you should get an email. So if you go, so there's a bunch of new tutorials.
Yeah, okay. I tried finding it, but then it said, well, if you're a student trying to set this up, or if you don't have the big blue, whatever it's called. So so what students do, they can sign up for those virtual meetings then? What you just showed me? How do they do that?
So on here, we have the tutorials for students. So this is the EdTech resources page for WebEx. And I post this in the chat. There's that.
Thank you.
At the very bottom, it says WebEx meetings for students and participants. And there's one that says WebEx meetings with Canvas, students scheduling office hours.
Okay.
On that, then that shows you from the student perspective how they would sign up for office hours.
Okay. Do you know if there's a way on those office hours if we can allow more than one person to sign up, or a certain amount?
I'm not sure. I know I have a teacher friend who did end up with more than one student in office hours, but I think that I don't know what they did with that.
Okay. And then, so
it should, sorry to interrupt, when a student clicks on the office hour, it should disappear for any future students. So it might have been like a fluke or a glitch. Maybe they clicked on it at the same time or something.
The link. Yeah, they probably shared the link. They were friends. They did it on purpose.
Yeah, you can, they'll get a Google invite in their email, and then that link can be shared out with other people. So
because that's my other question, like, is there a way to let more than, because I'd like maybe 4 or 5 to be able to sign up at one time. And in that other side with the scheduling, what I was talking, under calendar, when it says set up under calendar with the scheduler, it does allow me to put that many students in. But like I said, I'm not sure if the kids can see that or not. So does anybody know? Because I know, or do you don't remember how you did the PowerPoint signups with your students?
Well, it's been a while since I did that, and I know I did it through the scheduler.
Okay.
But I did have to teach the students how to access it, so it was a little.
I think one option that we suggested to a teacher was to use the virtual meeting and to have it set up for an hour block and then have kids just pick times within that. So you're only having like one meeting open and kids like come in and leave, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. And that was virtual meetings under the WebEx, right?
Under WebEx, yeah.
Okay. And then that's going to be specific to each, because the way we access that WebEx is by being on, going through each individual class, correct?
Through the course, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because the other one with calendar, it's more general. And then that's the other thing. When I go into calendar and I try to set up I did set up these times, it only gave me, so when I go to cancel them, I can't cancel it unless I click on each one individually, even though you can set them up initially from the date. And then for my options, it said can't post, you have to choose a class, and there was no sandbox in there from which to choose. It was only my 3 actual live classes that I had to choose. So now I've got this class signed up without like knowing exactly what I just had them do or having them do. So I need to go back and I guess delete each one individually. So, okay, well, I'll play around with that. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
I've also used just a Google Doc or a spreadsheet and had them sign up through there, and then you could email whatever student signed up for each time slot an access link.
Okay, that's good.
It might be more student friendly that way, having to figure out how to use the scheduler.
Okay.
So just know.
If the sandboxes don't work, to check it out because you don't have students in them.
Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering too, when you said sometimes they don't show that for student view. Maybe that's why I can't see it in student view, because it's truly like only kids, of course, that can see it from that end.
Yeah, there's several features that are going to be like that, like Google assignments. You wouldn't be able to try it out because you're not a real student with a Google account, so it wouldn't work. So stuff like that.
Oh, one more thing about those assignments. It says, how do you want them to submit? Like, what if, so I know in one part it says you can put complete or not. Like, that's how you can just have it going into the grade. They did it or they did not do it. But then how do I have them submit for that? Like, if they've done it?
So in your assignment, I'm going to go into that. I'm going to go to edit. So 2 separate things. So first, you're talking about displaying their grade as complete or incomplete, yes?
Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing for most of my assignments right now. Right underneath that is submission type. You have to select submission type of some kind in order for them to be able to turn something in, but you can choose as many of these things as you want. So submission type online, I could give them the option of just a text entry box. I could have them have the option of uploading a file of any kind, or a website URL, or whatever it is that you want. But this is how they would turn something in. And then this is just how it displays when you grade it, what it will say in the gradebook and in SpeedGrader. So 2 different things. So this you have to have selected in order for them to be able to turn something in.
Okay, got it. And then they'll be prompted somehow with that then?
Yeah, they'll get a submit assignment button in the top right corner. It's a blue button.
Okay. Perfect. Because otherwise, if I don't have them submit anything, then I'm on my own to try to figure out who's done it and who hasn't, right? Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Trust them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, I think there were some other questions.
Yeah, Patricia had a question, and do you see that over there?
Yeah, I do. Okay, Patsy. Yes, you should definitely plan out your unit first and then set it up. But if you do add additional assignments using module requirements, you would want to make sure you don't relock the module unless you want students to have to go back to the beginning, depending on where you place the assignment. So let's say I already set up the module requirements for this module. Let's say I add another one. I add another page. And it's in there, and I want students to view it before they're done. I can go back into my module requirements and I can add it later. add another page, require them that they view it and update it. And it's going to ask me, do you want me to lock the whole module again and make students start over, or should they continue from where they were at? So you would decide what it is that you want to do. I put it at the end of this module. So the only kids that will mess up is kids that have already progressed on to the next module, because this module will be not being done. If I created this new requirement, we'll lock this module again. So you would decide what it is you wanted to do with that. Okay. And Jim, did we answer your question in the chat?
Well, a little bit. What I'm trying to do is we set up homework last week and went through the module settings and set it for, putting in they had to upload a file, but now I'm not sure where to access what they've uploaded.
Okay. So when you go to the assignment,
Okay.
on the right-hand side, it'll say like so-and-so out of whatever number of students have submitted their assignment. And then you'll see a link that says Speed Grader. So if you click on Speed Grader, and this won't be very exciting because I don't have any students, but here's what Speed Grader looks like. In the top right-hand corner is your list of students. If you have multiple sections, the first option in that list is to view individual sections. You can view just first period, second period, and then all of your students will be listed there. If they've submitted something, it will preview in this spot that says the student does not have a submission. It'll be in there. You'll be able to see it as long as they've submitted it correctly. And then over here, you can give them a grade. And in this case, it was a complete or incomplete is how I was grading it. You can mark it complete. You can add comments to the student here and submit those. And then you can move on to your next student, which I don't have another student. Now, after you've graded all of them, however many you want to grade, in this top left corner, I'll go up in here, you have some options. So first, this will take you to your gradebook, and then you'll be able to see everybody that has submitted stuff, what grade you gave them. You can post or hide your grades. You can get into settings, or here you can go back to the homepage of your course. Get to that. So if you graded everybody and you wanted to transfer them over to Synergy, you would go to your gradebook and then you can copy them over there. I say copy, but type it in by hand.
Okay, if we put an assignment and linked it with an upload of a file, it should go to a spot in the gradebook, or do I have to set anything up?
It'll automatically be in SpeedGrader, so where I'm at right now. So if you go to the assignment, or if you go to your to-do list, so like if I go, so in the right corner of my dashboard over here, I have these student submissions. If I click on one of these, it's going to take me to SpeedGrader, where I'll be able to see their submission. So it'll take me to here, and I'll be able to see their file right here in this box. You'll be able to look at it. And if there's no submission, then it's going to say the student does not have a submission, which means they haven't turned anything in.
Okay, I think I got it. Let me work with that. If not, I'll
it's one of those things where once you try it, yeah, as soon as you try it, it'll make more sense.
Okay.
If there's a to-do list on your dashboard over here, then students have been turning stuff in. And so like these little blue numbers next to each of these assignments, that's how many students have turned it in. This is the work I posted this morning. So I have one gung-ho student who got up 2 hours ago. So I can access it there. So that's how I know that I have grading I need to do, because I can see that on my dashboard.
Yeah, on mine it just came up like assignments that were coming up due, but since we made them like the 19th of May.
Yeah. So that's like down here, so where it says coming up. Now I found, so personally working with my own children, he has some teachers that have the grades due, or the assignments due weekly, and then he has other teachers that just posted it at May 19th or whatever. I have to say that it's easier for my kid to prioritize things because he's going to look at whatever is due first. So if everything for a course is due at the end of the month, that's really difficult for him to prioritize what it is he needs to do right now. But he's 4th grade, so.
Yeah, no, I'm having those issues too. They told us not to make anything due until the end and give them the whole time to work on the stuff. But I'm having very few people, logging in, and maybe a tenth of the people. It's like, yeah, you understand. So
I
I don't
totally get
know.
that.
I might go back and just make stuff due because like I just can't get them.
You can set a due date without cutting off access. So it could be, and if you explain to your kids, it's suggested that you get this done by this date so that you can get everything done by the end, but they have until the end to finish it. So as long as you don't put in an end date for availability, they'll still be able to get to those assignments and do them later if they needed to. So it's more of a pacing guide than it is a real due date when you put those due dates on there, because that's what will show up on their to-do list of things that need to be done. And a lot of our students in particular work purely off of their to-do list.
Yeah. That's where I was telling them to find all their stuff. They're asking me like, where's this? And I had a quiz I wanted them to do over the 3-day weekend, and I didn't. I had it in quizzes on mine, but I don't have quizzes available, or the little eye things not on quizzes. So I didn't take the quiz and put it in the module, so they couldn't see it. So I'm like, oh. Yeah.
Well, that's how we learn things, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You remember that for next time.
Yeah. I hope.
I have a quick question about the comments. Do the students see those comments when you are grading them?
Yes. So when you put your comments in, and when a student comments on their assignment submissions, because they can put comments on there as well, the default is that it's emailed to them. So when I have a student comment on there, I'll get an email and I can reply to it and it will comment back. So when you put comments in there, it's emailed to them. Unless they turn off that notification. The other place they can get to that is if they go to their grades, and then there'll be a little icon indicating that there's a comment on there, and they can click on it to see what your comments are. There is, you do need to train, a lot of students will just click on everything and figure it out, but then there's a lot of students that need you to be like, hey, go click on this thing.
Yeah, okay. Awesome, thank you.
Yep. Is set as the default. Yes, Becky. That is the default notification.
Thank you.
Unless students go in there and change their notifications, which some do, then they will get that sent to their email. You're welcome, Ross. Okay, unless anyone has a last minute question, feel free to chat any of us. It's what we do. So we're happy to hear from you and help out. Okay. Okay, everybody have a good day then.